All right, just want to welcome everybody here to another CS Source Lunch and Learn series. Today we have Rachel Gardner, and she is with Viasat Inc., and we're real happy to have her today. Viasat provides satellite internet service to homes, businesses, and for defense and security, and they're headquartered in Carlsbad, California, and have offices throughout the U.S. and globally. So she has also been a member of CS Source since 2012. So today, Rachel, you've got it.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here and be able to talk with all of you. So I want to make this session as interactive as possible. So I have some opportunities here where I'll ask you guys to chat your answers into the Zoom chat, and we'll talk about that. Also, at the end of this session for Q&A, we can open up the video chat if you're comfortable with that, or just send any questions that you have through the Q&A section. But I'm looking forward to talking with you guys today. So to get started, we're going to be talking about responses and challenges to workflow during crisis, COVID-19, and then incorporated with college to career transitions, because I know that this is a very different time for all of us, and we're never really experienced anything like this. So I know that there's changes, questions, and concerns, or feeling nervous, and probably wondering what it looks like on the industry side, and then how you can really feel better and feel more comfortable when you're starting a new job or a new internship during this time. All right, so we'll talk about COVID-19 and the job market, and then pivoting for success, talking about resilience and networking, adaptability, communication, and then we'll have questions and closing. Alrighty, so COVID and the workflow challenges. So chat in if you've had an offer rescinded, interview canceled, or know someone who has had this happen to them. If not, that's great. I'm glad to hear that nobody has had any of those issues so far. I know that there are a lot of students that have had this happen. I know, unfortunately, we've had to do that on our end for some of our internships this past summer. It is a scary feeling, and it's not a very comfortable feeling. And I know that a lot of companies don't want to rescind or cancel interviews or internships or anything like that. But unfortunately, in the situation that we've been in, we've had to kind of adapt and figure out the best way to move forward. And so what we've had to do for ours, for example, we've had to, some of our internships that ended up being fully had to be hardware internships or had to be in the office due to the situation. We couldn't move forward with those, but we reframed the situation and made an available virtual option for a lot of students. So I know a lot of companies are doing that. I know it's scary right now. Unemployment is currently 13% nationally, about 22 million people, and expected to probably increase by December, because there's a lot of people that might be on furlough or just different situations that have been happening. So I know it can be scary, and while trying to look for a job in the future or now, there's a lot of questions. And so we've seen other impacts like RIFs, furloughs, hiring freezes. So even trying to find a job right now can be kind of frustrating and concerning. But and essential businesses are mandating employees to be remote if their work permits. So there's a lot of people working from home, as we've seen, and only some people are going into the office. And we don't really know what the future is going to look like. So we're taking it day by day and really trying to do what's best. So basically, it's scary out there. But I think that there's ways that we can move forward and not be scared and make the best of the situation. So going into college to career transitions, I wanted to talk about resilience and talk about that it's important to pause and take a deep breath and know that recruiters and companies will understand this time period on your resume. So people understand that the impact that this has had. And I know that's been a concern or question for a lot of people, because it will look like a blank area, or you didn't have an internship, or you weren't able to find work over the summer. But everybody is going through this right now, and we're all going to remember what has happened. So remember that. I think that it's still really important that you do your best to take this time and do what you can to boost your resume, taking time to come up with your own projects. If you have contracting work, that's important. If you can find contracting work, that's great. Also, micro internships are something that we've seen pop up a lot, where a lot of companies might be working with schools to have short-term internships to work on a project. And also finding any certification or coursework online and working through those types of different opportunities to really put something else on your resume, especially if you don't have an internship this summer, or if you weren't able to get a job right away. It's important to find something that you are interested in to help boost your skills and put something on your resume that you can show that you work towards a little bit. Also giving you something to do, because if you're stuck at home, it could have been, can be kind of boring. So looking for something to do as well. Build and leverage your network. We'll talk about this a little bit more. And then having patience. And I know that's hard because we all want to figure out what we're doing next, or we're concerned about what is going to happen next. And especially living in the unknown can be kind of scary, but having patience is important. So for example, this is something I just wanted to show. It was kind of funny, but something maybe not to do. An email that we received was the status on the internship, and it was just something that kind of came across a little bit very eager, and I understand that there's nervous feelings and we're all concerned, but understand that companies are working their best to try to make sure that they have places and things available for everyone, and they're doing their best to make it the best situation possible. So being patient as much as possible is great, and just keep that in mind when you're going through figuring out your next step right now. Alrighty, so speaking of networking, so before you get started, make sure to stay updated on LinkedIn, GitHub. Utilizing GitHub is great. Posting your projects, it's a great resource and a great place that I'm sure you guys are all aware of. Writing a 3 to 5 sentence self-pitch. Leverage your network and tell them that you're really interested in this job. Do you know anyone that I can connect with? Instead of just, oh, I'm sorry, hold on. I got sidetracked, but so leveraging your network is really important, and asking if you know anybody that they can connect with, but instead of relying them to just tell somebody about you, write yourself a 3 to 5 sentence pitch that you could send to them already prepared, saying, hey, here's a few things about me. So you're not just expecting them to tell the next person that they know about you. It will kind of take the ease off of the person that you're networking with and setting yourself up for success. One thing to keep in mind right now is the context. So before you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn or wherever you might know them, make sure to do some digging, because you don't really know anybody's situation right now, if they were let go or if they've been on furlough, or what their company situation has been going through. So try to do some digging, look into where they might be at, and if you notice that somebody has been recently impacted, maybe they're not the best person to reach out to. So keep that in mind when you're networking. And then do your research on companies. Especially now, there's a lot of opportunities to follow companies on social media, look at YouTube videos, and then set news alerts. Setting news alerts so you're notified about a company or specific topics you're interested, and then you can see what companies or industries are posting about. It'll really give you a better impression when you're reaching out to people, and see if they know anybody. Then if you see a company that you're interested in, see if you know anybody there, and then you can reach out to them specifically. And watching YouTube videos is a great way to also learn more about a company, and following them on social media and following these hashtags. We are hiring, I am hiring, and hiring now. I want to take a minute and take 2 minutes we want to take some minutes and think about who is in your network. So when it comes to networking, we don't always consider who we already know in our network. And it's important to remember that you know people in all different areas of your life. So you might have personal people, friends and family friends, academic, professor, TAs, career services, tutors, professional, your former boss, your colleagues, recruiters, and then extracurriculars and anybody from student organization or volunteer connections. And you want to think about what is your ask and make sure that you have a clear ask, clear defined ask. So what I mean by that is have a well-defined ask. When you're reaching out, so who are you reaching out to? So if you're reaching out to a professor, you might ask if they know anybody in that industry that is hiring. If you're reaching out to somebody in career services, you might be asking for help with resume building. A peer, you might be asking them to review your projects on GitHub or spot checking, those different areas. So you want to have kind of a clear way to go about it. Right now, the job market is really wild. And so trying to reach out and network can be scary and can be kind of difficult. So you want to make sure that you're investing in relationships, but also do it in an authentic way. So you want to have an ask, and then how and when will you follow up? And just to emphasize, follow-up is really important. If you do reach out to somebody and somebody connects you to somebody else or another company, make sure that you follow up and give a thank you, because everybody is looking for different opportunities right now or not really sure what's going on. And it's really important just to kind of keep holding on to those good relationships. We're going to do a do now. So I would like everybody to take out their phones or on their computer and search on whatever kind of social media platform you might be interested in. Do a search hashtag we are hiring. And in the chat box, type in who is hiring, what can you find, and what can you find on the company, or just who is hiring, and then what kind of specific ask can you make for a connection at this company. So take a minute, if anything, just type in and let me know that you were able to find maybe a company or not, and then I'll share with you maybe what I found and an idea. Take a minute or two and do that and see if there's anything that you come up with. Another thing too, right now that you could do that I'd like to see is if you want to share in the chat as well, maybe think about, or not, you don't have to share this in the chat, but just take a time to think about for yourself, who are people that you would consider in your network, and make a list of those people. Because there's a lot of people that we don't really think about who might already be in our network. I know this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, not sure exactly what our job situations always are looking like. We want to make sure that we have a clear idea of who we could talk to, what kind of resources they might provide. Another thing to think about too is if you did have a rescinded internship or offer, you could still network with that recruiter and talk to them about, telling them to keep you in the loop if anything has come up, or if there's any changes in the industry or any sort of recommendations that they might have for how to keep yourself updated, those kind of conversations. If anybody's finding anything on We Are Hiring, you can share it in the chat. If not, that's totally fine. I found one for Intuit, I think it was, and it was on Instagram, and they said they were hiring. And so what I would do if I was interested for them, I could reach out and ask them what kind of areas that they're hiring for, or if they have if they're seeing a trend in their different types of positions, or what kind of what they foresee in the future and how the company is doing. Those types of questions would be good, especially if they're posting about that they are hiring now. So that's just a resource to keep in mind, is that we do have the We Are Hiring hashtag, or I am hiring, those different things, and different ways that you can go about looking and seeing what's happening right now. All right, we'll continue on. So you've gotten the job, and what is something that makes you nervous about working virtually? Is there something that you are looking forward to regarding working virtually? If anybody wants to share in the chat, that'd be great. You can share about if there's anything that makes you nervous, or if you're excited about working virtually, if you have been working virtually or not. But that's right now the state that we're in, especially for university grads and for interns too. All internships are virtual at the most part right now, and same with for university grads. A lot of new people are starting virtually, and that's a total different feeling than getting to go into the office and meet your whole team and be there in person. So I know that it can make some people nervous. It can be exciting. For me personally, I know that the flexibility is kind of nice, getting to work from home and getting to not have to drive into an office every day has been nice. But it's also kind of nerve-wracking to make sure, wanting to feel like the team I'm working with still knows that I'm doing my work all the time, or that I am being held still accountable for the work that I'm doing, or I'm doing a good job, or not even being able to really interact in person. So those are all different nerve-wracking kind of feelings that we have. So all of ours might be different. This is an open space, so feel free to share if you'd like, or we can talk about it later. But few things to keep in mind that are really important for adaptability for getting a new job in this coronavirus situation is making sure to create a space and a routine that you can keep consistent with. It's really easy to never turn off when you're working from home. It's easy to get stuck on the computer all the time and keep going. And so it's really important to set that routine and make sure that you don't stay online all the time, that you're staying focused during the day as much as possible, but then you give yourself those breaks when you need them. You give yourself a chance to kind of refresh and recoup for the next day and still do something outside of work. It's important to reframe your collaboration. So invite others to provide feedback. Highlight your collaboration with your supervisor. Bring up and talk about what it is that you're going to be doing, how you're collaborating with your peers, and what you're looking forward to doing. And then ask for connections regarding interests and skills, even in a new working environment. Think about what you're interested in doing more. Think about if there's an area that you learn about while you're starting on a new team, what you're interested in doing, and who you could possibly connect with within the company, and get familiar with different groups and organizations that are within the company, and ask to be connected to those people, because it's hard when you're not there in person and you can't just pop by somebody's office, or you can't ask your manager in person. So different ways to think about being adaptable and reframe how you collaborate with your teammates, because you have to be working in a virtual setting. And then taking on new social engagement. I know that even starting in person in a new company can be kind of frightening or get feelings of nervousness, but taking the time to engage socially, and now a lot of companies are doing virtual social engagements. So they'll be doing a virtual lunch possibly, or games and happy hours, all in a virtual setting. And those are things that you should be participating in if you feel like you want to. And a great way to kind of get your name out there, especially starting new at a new place. And then again, also employee resource groups are really great too. So there's next gen organizations for people that have just recently graduated school, or haven't been at the company for too long, and they'll do different types of events, or they'll host meetings. Those are ways to be involved and engaged. So keep those in mind, and I would really encourage you to join different happy hours, even if it feels kind of you're not sure, you don't know anybody. Those are really great ways to get to know people. For example, we're doing a really exciting one with our VWIT chapter, our Women in Technology chapter in Atlanta, and we're doing a virtual happy hour, and we came up with a list of different questions that drink if you've done this, or drink if you've done that. And it'll be after work hours, but it'll be something that's kind of fun to connect people, and we're inviting all of our new hires to join that as well. And then also learning and development opportunities. So there's different teams that the learning and development team might be putting out different courses or different sessions about what you can learn and how you can develop in the company. Take advantage of those settings and those opportunities and really dive into them. ask your manager if you can participate in a learning and development opportunity that you see come across your email. All right, so we'll try again. I don't know if maybe I'm not seeing any chats come through. If nobody's chatting, that's okay. You don't have to, but if you would like to, you're comfortable. Seek out a new network connection within your company, or, or a way that you'll engage socially at work. Feel free to chat in the chat box with one of those options. You don't have to say all of them. An example for what I will be probably doing, and one way that I actually made my work environment more comfortable, was my roommate and I work at the same company, and we didn't have a really separate workspaces to work at home. So I had a desk set up and I moved it into a separate room. And that way we were a little bit able to focus more on our work, but then come together during lunchtime or do some other fun activities throughout the day. But we're able to kind of separate our space and have our own space by being able to move into another room. And sometimes things aren't always seeming as ideal as you'd like, but we have to reframe and think about how you can make things better in this situation. And then a way to seek out new connections with your company, if there is one person that you do know really well, or that you started with, ask them if they have any suggestions of who you could reach out to ask about something new at the company that you're not familiar with, or ask a fellow peer that is starting now, or you could always reach out to your recruiter who hired you and ask them if they have any suggestions of who they could reach out to, and do some research within your company and see what areas that you're interested in engaging with, and then talk to your manager. Okay, so communication is always a very big important thing, especially right now. Making sure to communicate virtually is really, really important, especially new coming into the company. You want to make sure that you are being heard and that you feel like your questions are being answered, or that you're able to communicate those questions, or just communicate in general. I know that was a change that we saw when we first started all working virtually from our company, and just how we had to manage this new setting of working all remotely. And our team suggested that we kind of call out every morning when we've gotten online, so that we just know that we're there, and that we are present if anybody if needs anything, and continue to communicate through our chat options. But seek to understand, ask questions. Don't be afraid to do that. Even in a regular setting, don't be afraid to go and ask questions. That's the only way that you're going to continue to grow and learn in a new place. And some are easily misunderstood over messages. We all experience that over texting a lot. But that could be applied also in the same sense in a work setting, and over email, or over Slack, or whatever messaging system you have. So make sure that you understand really like what they're trying to ask, and then you can move forward from there. Don't assume that they meant one thing. So ask those questions. Establish a preferred communication style. So be upfront about how you want to communicate, how you like to communicate. Make sure that you let your manager know that, and think about how you want to be communicated with. These are really important things going into just building your career and building yourself up in a new place. Follow up is crucial. Make sure to stay following up, especially if you've asked a question. It's okay to follow up afterwards, or if you need to recommunicate something, that's also okay. Make sure that you're following up. Build a basic persona. We'll talk about that on the next slide. And then I wanted to express that there's no need to be an extrovert. I know a lot of people think that you need this to be successful in a virtual setting, but it's more important to maintain expectations. So be open and have a working agreement with your manager or with your team. So you don't have to speak up all the time, or you don't have to chime in on every little thing, or send a chat about everything. But just make sure that you set those expectations of how you like to communicate. And then this isn't something that you don't have to do, but worth considering. And one person on my team, actually, she brought this up, and now we all really like to follow this rule. But we all face conflict, and we all have to deal with different situations that maybe we're not as comfortable with or we're not sure about and when communicating and working with other people. So this is what worth considering is think about the 24, 48, 72 hour rule. So 24 hours, think about what happened or what the communication was or the situation and how you feel, and process that. And then within 48 hours, you should sync up with that person. And then within 72 hours, if you haven't provided feedback or you haven't synced up with them, then it's time to probably let it go. So that's a kind of a nice way to think about things before you just actively respond really quickly if you're dealing with a conflict or just a situation that you want to take some time to reflect on. And then also try it on like a coat. If people give you feedback, you don't have to implement it, but try it on. And if it doesn't work, you can always take it off. And then tact, and then tactless. So think about those. Always having tact is really important when you're communicating with people. Okay, so another do now, and this is something you guys can just kind of do on your own if you'd like, but think about creating a quick persona for your future hiring manager, let's say. So your persona, you want to, it's a quick profile that you put together and try to understand someone on your team, stakeholders or customers. So you could create a persona of, so let's say this person is your hiring manager. Think about who they are, key responsibilities, their network, preferred communication style, what are their motivators or barriers, and then what is your ask or your task. And then how would you communicate with those people? But yeah, so I think it's great to try to create a persona and think about how you're going to communicate with that person. And these are different things that you can think about in order to communicate with them. Alrighty, so I know that we have about like 15 minutes left, so I wanted to keep the floor open now for questions. I kind of went through a lot of that, but I wanted to just express the concerns that maybe I've heard from students that we've worked with, or talk about kind of the situation that we're in now and how it can be challenging right now working remotely, starting a new position or a new job, and not feeling as comfortable as you would if you're getting to go in person and start that new job. And then also understanding that I didn't touch on it as much, but understanding our employees, how their company is going to continue going in and continue growing or staying stable. So those are kind of things that everyone is working through. So if there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A section, or I guess, Brittany, we can open up the video or the voice. Are there any questions or anything that anybody was trying to get out of this conversation that I wasn't able to cover, or that they would like to know more about?
This is Julia. I'd like to know what was one point that everyone is going to take away from this. Everybody's going to have a different thought, but what was one of the things that you can do something with? One of the things that I thought was really interesting was asking for connections once you got the job with your interests and skills. That's really good. Have you done that, Rachel?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something. So I was at one point interested in our business development team, and I wanted to learn more about what that looks like at our company. And so I reached out to some people on those teams and asked for more information, and was told by one of the managers to follow one of their employees around for the day, and got the opportunity to kind of learn about those different areas. Also, something that we did recently is there's a lot of companies might have seats for this, but there's a platform called Udemy where they have tons of different short courses that you can build skills on. And our team all got seats on that, and we've been able to kind of take different little short courses to adapt our skills and interests. and then are able to kind of reach out to different teams and ask them what's the best thing that we should be learning right now to make us more successful in understanding technology or understanding how to code or something like that.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I have one other question.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're thinking about who is in your network, what are some of the people that you might not think about that are in your network that could be valuable? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that some people, I think that it's easy to forget that, or not feel like you can reach out to somebody if you haven't kept in touch with them for a long time, or possibly depending on your relationship with an old boss that you've had, that can be kind of challenging or feel weird, but those are people that you can reach out to. And more than not, people are excited to help and connect and like to hear from people that you haven't talked to in a while. But I think that sometimes we don't think about older friends or people that or acquaintances that we might have had, or just in general our social network sometimes, or even just some random places that you might have conversations with people, where if you frequently go to the same place all the time, and you see the same people there, you might be able to network with different people, or just connections on LinkedIn, even if you don't really work with them that often, but they are somebody that you've had short conversations with, that could be somebody that you could reach out and connect and network with. And just thinking about how you're going to ask them, or what you want to ask them, and what kind of networking situation it could be. Another thing, or another one too that we don't think about, is maybe a company that you didn't get an offer with, or a company that you maybe just saw like on campus but didn't really have any interest with, and you could reach out to a recruiter and just kind of ask for any information, and not really asking for a job, but maybe tools that could help you grow and develop. Like, those are kind of ways that maybe it doesn't always have to be about getting the job, but how, like, in which area you could reach out to ask something different for each person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions for Rachel? She did an excellent job. I just want to thank you, Rachel, so much for this. You just brought up a lot of good ideas and directions and things that we could all do. So I just want to thank you for that.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. At any point, if anybody does have any questions afterwards and they want to email me, feel free to share my information. And I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns, or just talk about anything. I think that's, I'm open to anything. So yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. We'll have another session next Tuesday, and have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you so much.